They told us it was a routine communications retrieval in the Pine Barrens. Just another Cold War cleanup operation that wouldn't make the reports. By the third night, when we found Ortega with those bone-white eyes whispering about the child that still screams, I knew we'd stumbled into something the government had been hiding since World War II. The thing is, once it gets in your head, once it knows your grief, it never really lets you go. I've stared death in the face too many times to count. Vietnam taught me that. But nothing, not the jungle, not the VC, not the nightmares that followed, could have prepared me for what waited in those twisted pines. Captain Mercer, you hearing me? Colonel Harris slapped a manila folder onto the desk between us, snapping me back to the present. The briefing room smelled of coffee and cigarettes, that familiar military musk. Yes, sir. Communications array in the Pine Barrens, routine retrieval. I thumbed through the folder, scanning the black and white satellite images. Storm damage. Lightning strike took out the primary antenna. Need your team to assess, retrieve any salvageable data, and report back. Should be milk run. I nodded, but something in his eyes told me otherwise. 15 years in service teaches you to read people. The colonel was holding back. Outside, my team was gearing up. Sergeant Luis Ortega, our communications specialist, was checking his equipment, a cigarette dangling from his lips. Hey, Cap, he called out, his Jersey accent thick as molasses. We going camping in my backyard? I could have shown you the good spots. Keep it professional, Ortega, I replied, but couldn't help smirking. Corporal Eddie Kincaid was doing what he always did before a mission. Pray. Bible clutched in trembling hands, whispering to himself. Kid was green, but he had heart. Staff Sergeant Roy Bruckner was methodically checking and rechecking our gear. The man could survive on dirt and rainwater if he had to. Then there was Lieutenant Ava Tanaka, CIA liaison, they said. She stood apart from the others, reviewing a separate set of documents. Her presence on a simple retrieval mission raised questions, but questioning CIA involvement wasn't in my job description. Ma'am, I nodded at her as I approached. Any insights on the mission you'd care to share? Just following protocol, Captain. Her voice was ice water. The array collects sensitive data. We need to ensure nothing falls into the wrong hands. As we boarded the chopper, Bruckner nudged me. Cap, look at these. He handed me a set of photos. Strange tracks in the mud around the communications post. Not deer, not bear. Something else. Something wrong. Probably local wildlife, I said, ignoring the prickle at the back of my neck. The rotors spun up, drowning out my thoughts. The chopper dropped us a click from the comms post. Standard procedure, minimal noise signature. The Pine Barrens stretched around us, ancient and watchful. The air carried an unsettling scent, metallic, like copper pennies and ammonia. Smells like a chemical spill, Ortega muttered, wrinkling his nose. Or blood, Kincaid whispered, clutching his rifle tighter. I shot them both a look. Cut the chatter. Move out. The antenna array came into view through the trees, a Cold War relic, supposedly monitoring Soviet communications over the Atlantic. Its main tower listed to one side, blackened where lightning had struck. Bruckner, perimeter. Kincaid with him. Ortega, let's assess the damage. The equipment shed door hung open. Inside, chaos greeted us. Equipment cases lay strewn about, their contents shredded. Not broken, shredded. Like something had torn through the metal casings with claws. What the hell could do this? Ortega whispered, running his fingers along the jagged edges. Lieutenant Tanaka pushed past us, immediately gathering what remained of the signal packs. Her calm demeanor seemed forced now. Animals, most likely, she said without looking up. Bears can be surprisingly destructive. Bears don't pick locks, ma'am, I replied, pointing to the intact door mechanism. As dusk fell, we set up camp near the array. I'd ordered triple perimeter checks, tripwires at 10-yard intervals. Something was off about this place. That night, the radios started picking up fragments of transmissions. Not our frequencies, not any military or civilian channel I recognized, just broken words and sounds, overlapping. Mother, leads, devil, child. Captain. Kincaid's voice broke through my thoughts. Sir, there's something out there, just beyond the wire. I listened. A faint howling, but nothing registered on our motion detectors. Get some sleep, I ordered, knowing none of us would. Tomorrow we finish up and get out of this place. Dawn broke cold and gray. I'd managed maybe 20 minutes of sleep, jolting awake each time the wind shifted. Kincaid looked worse, eyes red-rimmed, fingers fidgeting on his rifle. Sir, he approached me, voice barely above a whisper. My sidearm's gone. I had it when I took watch, I swear. I believed him. Eddie Kincaid was many things. Jumpy, green, God-fearing, but not careless with weapons. Show me where you were posted. He led me to his watch position. Nothing seemed disturbed until Bruckner called out from a few yards away. Captain, you need to see this. He pointed up. 12 feet above us, gouged into the bark of a massive pine, were footprints. Not human. Cloven, like a goat's, but deeper than any animal should be able to mark. The hell? I breathed, feeling the hairs on my neck stand up. There's more. Bruckner gestured around us. Once I saw the first one, I couldn't unsee the rest. Trees marked with deep spiral patterns, like something had climbed them in perfect circular motions, leaving claw marks as it went. Could be kids, Ortega suggested, not sounding convinced. Local punks messing around. With what? I asked. Climbing gear and garden trowels? Lieutenant Tanaka studied the patterns silently, her face unreadable. When she caught me watching her, she quickly looked away. That night, we doubled the watch. I took first shift with Ortega, both of us scanning the darkness beyond our small camp. You hear that? He whispered suddenly. At first, nothing. Then soft but unmistakable footsteps on the roof of our tent. Slow, deliberate. The canvas didn't even dimple under the weight. I raised my rifle, aiming at nothing. Who's there? Identify yourself. Silence. Then a low, scraping sound, moving from one end of the shelter to the other. Jesus Christ, Ortega whispered, his weapon shaking in his hands. By morning, we found nothing. No footprints, no evidence. But Kincaid's missing sidearm lay in the center of camp, the barrel twisted into a perfect spiral. Ortega, check that secondary relay point, I ordered after a tense breakfast. No more than 20 minutes. Keep radio contact. He nodded, still eyeing Kincaid's mangled weapon. 15 minutes later, his radio crackled. Cap, something's not right here. Tracks everywhere. I think... Static cut him off. Ortega! Ortega! I grabbed my gear. Bruckner with me. Tanaka, stay with Kincaid. We followed Ortega's trail through the underbrush. The forest grew denser, darker, the trees closing in like sentinels. Then something strange happened. His tracks began to curve, gradually but unmistakably forming a wide circle. He's being led around, Bruckner muttered. No way he'd miss this. After 30 minutes of following the increasingly perfect circle, we ended up right back at camp. Ortega wasn't there. He never came back, Tanaka reported. Kincaid sat, rocking slightly, whispering prayers. When I approached, he looked up with wild eyes. I heard my mother calling me, he said, but she's been dead for 8 years, Captain. I heard her voice in the trees. Don't listen, I told him firmly. Whatever you hear out there, ignore it. Night fell again. The forest seemed to press in closer, the darkness thicker than it should be. I found Tanaka reviewing her files by flashlight. "Time to come clean, Lieutenant," I said quietly. "What's really going on here?" She stared at me for a long moment, then sighed. "This forest has been under surveillance since World War II," she admitted. "The OSS discovered a long-range acoustic anomaly here, something that can't be explained by conventional science. That doesn't explain what happened to Ortega." "No," she agreed, her eyes darting to the darkness beyond our camp. "But I think we're about to find out." A whistle sounded in the distance, 3 notes, hauntingly familiar. "That's our advance signal," I said, confused. "No," Tanaka whispered. "Don't follow it. That's not your man." Morning brought fog, thick, soupy, clinging to the ground like a living thing. Through it, a figure stumbled toward camp. "Contact," Bruckner called, weapon raised. "Hold fire," I ordered, recognizing the gate. "It's Ortega." He emerged from the mist, but something was wrong. His uniform hung in tatters. His eyes had gone completely white. The irises bleached like sun-worn bone. The child, screaming," he mumbled, words slurred and sticking together. "Luis," I approached slowly, hands out. "What happened to you?" When I touched his shoulder, he collapsed. I caught him, feeling how his body had withered, skin papery and dry, as if every drop of moisture had been pulled from him. Tanaka was there instantly, checking his pulse. "He's severely dehydrated," she said, pulling out a canteen. Ortega's hand shot up, gripping her wrist with unexpected strength. "Don't drink the water," he rasped. "It's in the water. It's in all of us now." His body convulsed once, violently. Foam bubbled from his mouth as he locked eyes with me. "The child still screams," he whispered. Then he was gone. We buried him at dusk, no one speaking as Kincaid said a hurried prayer. The forest had fallen silent. No birds, no insects, not even wind in the trees. "We're leaving at first light," I announced. "Mission abort." Tanaka started to protest, but something crashed through the canopy above us. Branches and debris rained down as Kincaid screamed. A high, terrified sound cut short as something dragged him upward into the darkness. "Contact! Open fire!" I yelled, raising my rifle and firing blindly into the trees. Bruckner's M16 joined mine, the muzzle flashes illuminating glimpses of something. Tall as a man, but bent wrong, with spindly limbs and what looked like tattered wings. The bullets seemed to hit, the creature jerking with impact, but no blood sprayed, just hollow wooden sounds, like bullets striking dried timber. Then it shrieked, a sound that burrowed into my brain and nested there. Part goat's bleat, part infant's wail, all wrong. Kincaid's screams faded as whatever had him retreated deeper into the forest, moving impossibly fast through the treetops. "What the fuck was that?" Bruckner gasped, reloading with shaking hands. I had no answer, but for a moment, silhouetted against the moon, I'd seen it clearly. Gaunt body, backwards bent legs, ending in cloven hooves, wings like rotted leather, and eyes that glowed blood red in the darkness. "We've just made a terrible mistake," Tanaka whispered. "Now it knows we're here. If you've followed this mission report this far, know that everything gets worse from here." I still wake up hearing that cry, that terrible, hungry baby's cry. Dawn never seemed to come. The darkness merely thinned, the fog growing thicker. We'd been awake all night, backs to each other, weapons pointed outward. "We need to find Kincaid," I said, though I knew it was already too late. "No," Tanaka replied. "We need to find the bunker." "What bunker?" "World War II era. The real reason for this mission." I grabbed her arm. "No more secrets, Lieutenant, not if you want to live." She led us deeper into the forest, consulting a map I hadn't seen before. After an hour's hike, we reached a small clearing. At its center stood a concrete structure, half buried in the earth, its entrance sealed with strange symbols carved into the metal door. "What is this place?" Bruckner asked, running his fingers over the markings. "Don't touch those," Tanaka warned. Too late. The door creaked open, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. The smell hit us first. Decay, but old, dry. I flicked on my flashlight and immediately wished I hadn't. The bunker floor was littered with skeletal remains in tattered military uniforms, at least a dozen sets. Each skull bore the same distinctive marks, tiny teeth marks, too small and numerous to be human. "They tried to contain it," Tanaka said quietly. "In 1952, the government conducted a joint operation with certain specialists. They used local legends, the Jersey Devil, as cover for something they'd discovered during the war." "Discovered or created?" I demanded. "It was always here," she whispered. "The Lenape people knew. They avoided these woods for centuries." A sound behind us. Bruckner had drawn his sidearm, pointing it at Tanaka. "You knew," he snarled. "You brought us here as bait." "Put it down, Roy," I ordered. "She's with them, Captain. She's been lying from the start." His voice had changed, taking on a strange doubled quality. I saw it in his eyes then, the same emptiness that had claimed Ortega. Whatever was out there was inside him now. I tackled him as the gun went off, the bullet grazing Tanaka's arm. We struggled on the bunker floor, dust and bone fragments swirling around us. "It's in your head, Roy," I shouted. "Fight it!" But even as I subdued him, I heard it. My own voice, whispering from some dark corner of my mind, urging me to turn on the others, to walk into the fog alone. The Jersey Devil didn't just want our bodies. It wanted our minds first. We retreated from the bunker, dragging a restrained Bruckner with us. Every step felt guided, like we were being herded. The trees seemed to shift positions when I wasn't looking directly at them, the paths curving gently no matter which direction we chose. "We're being led," I muttered to Tanaka, who nodded grimly. "It's bringing us to the amphitheater," she said. "The what?" "A natural formation. Bowl-shaped clearing surrounded by twisted pines. The Lenape called it the place where spirits speak." As if on cue, the forest opened up. We stood at the edge of a perfect circular depression in the earth, ringed by massive pines that curved inward like grasping fingers. At the center stood the remains of an ancient tree, its trunk split by lightning, but somehow still alive. The wood twisted into shapes that looked disturbingly like screaming faces. Bruckner had gone quiet, his eyes vacant. Tanaka's arm was bleeding freely now, her face pale with shock. "Burn me," she whispered suddenly. "What?" "I can feel it, Captain. The voice. It's already inside me." She pressed her service pistol into my hand. "Burn me before I become like Ortega. Like Bruckner. Please." The wind picked up, carrying with it a sound I hadn't heard in 8 years. My daughter's laughter. Emily. Dead in a car accident while I was overseas. My greatest failure. "Daddy, why didn't you come home?" The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. I spun around, searching the trees. "That's not her," I told myself aloud. "Emily's gone. I'm right here, Daddy. I've been waiting for you." A figure emerged from behind the lightning-struck tree. Small, childlike, but wrong. Its movements were jerky, puppet-like. In the dimming light, I could almost convince myself it was her. Almost. "You're not my daughter," I snarled, raising my rifle. The thing shed its disguise like a snake shedding skin. The Jersey Devil stood before us in its true form, towering, gaunt, its skin like bark, eyes burning red, wings unfurled from its back, tattered and ancient. "You all carry such delicious grief," it said, still using Emily's voice. "Such guilt, such fear. I've fed on it for centuries." Bruckner broke free with sudden strength, charging toward the creature. It simply raised a clawed hand, and he stopped mid-stride, feet leaving the ground as he rose into the air, suspended like a marionette. "Your friend already belongs to me," it said, "as will you." An idea struck me. Desperate, probably suicidal. The antenna tower. The lightning. "Tanaka," I whispered. "Your flares. The tower." She understood immediately. While the creature was focused on Bruckner's struggling form, we backed toward the edge of the clearing. "Now!" I shouted. Tanaka fired the flare gun at the base of the old antenna tower. The phosphorus ignited the dry undergrowth instantly. The creature howled, not in pain, but in what sounded like delight. "Fire cleanses nothing," it said, advancing toward us. But I'd counted on that. The burning tower, metal and electronics, began to emit a high-pitched whine, the same frequency we'd heard on the radios. The Jersey Devil froze, head tilted as if listening. Then it screamed, a sound that shattered the night and sent me to my knees. It lunged for the tower, drawn by the sound. The explosion took us all by surprise. When I came to, the forest was burning around me. Through the flames and smoke, I crawled away, my skin blistering, lungs burning. Of Tanaka and Bruckner, there was no sign. Behind me, in the heart of the inferno, something still moved. Have you been wondering what kind of horror lies in those forgotten corners of military history? The places where classified reports go to die? Trust me when I say, some things should stay buried. But if my story has hooked you so far, I'm afraid there's no turning back now. Medical discharge, that's what they called it. Psychiatric evaluation concluded I was unfit for continued service due to combat-related trauma and stress-induced hallucinations. My burns healed. The nightmares didn't. I moved to a small town in western Pennsylvania. Anonymous, quiet. The kind of place where people mind their business and don't ask questions about the scarred man who jumps at shadows. The government denied any knowledge of Lieutenant Tanaka. The mission reports listed only 4 men sent into the Pine Barrens and 4 men lost in an accidental fire. Case closed. But I had proof. The recording I'd salvaged from Tanaka's equipment. I hid it beneath the floorboards of my bedroom, wrapped in cloth and sealed in a metal box. Sometimes in the dead of night, I hear it playing. The static, the whispers, always ending with my name, spoken in my daughter's voice. I don't tell anyone about these things. The doctors have their pills, their theories about PTSD and grief hallucinations. They don't believe in monsters hiding in the pines. I know better now. When the wind blows from the east, carrying the scent of pine and something metallic, I close all my windows and doors. I turn the radio up loud to drown out any sounds from outside. Because sometimes I hear footsteps on my roof, something circling, patient and hungry, waiting for me to break, to follow the whistle, to answer when it calls my name. And sometimes I almost want to. Last week, it was all over the local news. A group of hikers gone missing in the Pine Barrens. 5 people who strayed off the marked trails and vanished without a trace. I watched the search efforts on TV, knowing they wouldn't find anything, not until it wanted them to. 2 days later, they discovered a clearing that hadn't been there before. The ground was scorched in a perfect circle. Park rangers found claw marks on the trees, stretching impossibly high, and at the center of the clearing, a single military dog tag. Mine, the one I'm wearing right now, around my neck. I called the ranger station. They had no record of finding any dog tags, no unusual markings, no perfect circle. The search was ongoing, they said. Standard procedure. That night, my radio turned itself on. Through the static, I heard the familiar voices, Ortega's jokes, Bruckner's gruff commands, Kincaid's prayers, Tanaka's last words to me. Then a new voice joined them, a small child's cry that turned into something ancient and hungry. It knows I've told you this story now. It can hear through my words, see through my eyes. The more people who know about it, the stronger it becomes. I'm sorry for that, truly. But I needed someone else to know before I go back there, because I am going back tonight. The Jersey Devil has been patient, waiting all these years, calling me. And now it's returned what it took from me, proving it can reach beyond those pines anytime it wants. Maybe this time I'll see Emily again. If you've read this far and felt that chill up your spine, you're not alone. There are things in this world that defy explanation, things the government has known about and hidden for decades. Check the forests near you. Listen for strange transmissions. And if you ever hear a child crying in the woods, run.